5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. The only thing we have to fear is fear.
Mile 18.
This is Endurance Nation. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Endurance Nation podcast. I'm Coach Patrick, your host on these different episodes that cover interviews with our members and with industry leaders, as well as regular topics that are pertinent to endurance athlete success. This time around, it's getting close to the fall, and I wanted to let you know that our season is kicking off on November 1st. That's right. Endurance Nation works through seasons, and our winter training program kicks off in earnest on November 1st. If you head over to endurancenation.us, you'll be able to enter your email address to get all the details about what's coming up and learn why starting in November is super important and how we can work with you over the course of the winter using our patented out-season program and the subsequent training phases of the year to create the conditions and knowledge you need to be your better and faster self. And if you're ready to get started early, can't wait till November 1st, we have a durability program for you too. So once again, head over to endurancenation.us, enter that email, learn more about what we are doing here over the course of the year, why Endurance Nation is different, why training with a team is the way to go, and how we can help make you successful. Until then, I look forward to hearing from you online somewhere, and sit back here now and enjoy this episode.
Endurance Nation.
Hey everyone, Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation, back with another weekly coach lesson, my live show here, an opportunity to catch up on things that are happening inside the team, and for me to give a little bit of knowledge, things that we've learned here inside the team from my coaching experience, my own training and racing experience. Talk a little bit about the value of overreaching with a challenge. So there's a couple different things at play here that about your baseline training, and there's your baseline level of training that you have that's always going on. It's your training program. It's a certain amount of time per week, and you probably operate in a certain band. You know, like low weeks are say 6 hours, high weeks are 9 hours, and you kind of oscillate inside there. And then you go ahead and pick a race. You pick a half Ironman, you pick an Ironman, a marathon, an ultra run, a huge gravel race, whatever that number may be. All of a sudden, your 6 to 9 hours a week isn't enough. We have to be able to put some volume into your program, but you have a job, you got a life, you got a family. What do we do? That's where the volume comes in. And the volume bump that we talk about, or overreaching, is where we take a block of time at a higher level of duration, and we inject that into your training program, and we say, look, I know you're a normal human being. Monday through Friday, you've got to do these things, but one Saturday a month, maybe one Saturday, Sunday a month, we can do a little more volume. And what that effectively is, sort of like here behind me on this bookshelf behind my head, we kind of, your baseline level is here. We do this big volume bump, we recover, and we're at this next level of training. We do another bump, we jump up, we recover, and we go forward. It ends up being sort of like a stepping stone approach to your training, but done so in a way that we do the volume in a method that's manageable for your schedule, fits into your life, has minimal compromises across the board, doesn't use any spousal approval units or SAUs. We save those for when they're really important. And they still allow you to create some additional training stress, which is going to force the adaptation. Okay. And that's really what overreaching is, not just the actual work, but the actual compensation afterwards, where we actually go beyond what we're capable of doing. So if you're doing 6 hours a week, we go say like 9 or 10 hours by using a specific block of time in the next week on the weekend, more aerobic time, nothing too crazy, right? And then we give yourself a little bit of time to recover, get back at it. You've sort of absorb this extra stress, you get stronger. It's this general sort of curve of like extra work, recovery, come back stronger, right? It's a little wave like that. Very straightforward. Many of you have seen it out there. You may not have experienced it yourself because it doesn't make sense when you talk about volume. You say, I can't do those things. The truth is that you've been doing it a long time already, simply through your races. You'll do, a sprint to an Olympic or 2 Olympics before a half or some version of that. You're already doing specific weekends dedicated to an exercise designed to improve your performance. And we're just saying we're going to replace some of that with volume instead. Okay. Now, we talk about challenges as well. And inside Endurance Nation, we have challenges both in the real world from events, but also virtual as well, more self-guided where you can follow along. We have a Zwift challenge series happening this winter of 22 to 23, 4 separate Zwift rides, one a month where people can come in and do some extra work. It's an opportunity to put in some time in, zone 1, zone 2, build some aerobic time together, and use those individual events as a stepping stone, accountability through the team and the extra work for yourself. You may also decide to go out and do something bigger on your own, whatever that may be. But the key is to make sure that you're doing it in a way that makes sense. We've got some basic guidelines for you here. And the first and foremost piece when we think about it is knowing what your baseline is. So today I'm going to be using Strava sort of as an example. So I'm going to share my screen here on the Strava side. So we have that. I'm going to pull this up right here. Okay, awesome. Let me head over to Strava right now. So I'm going to come in here and I'll go to my training log. And I have a subscription with Strava, so you can kind of see it. And here we go. I'm really just running and cycling right now, mostly cycling. So we can see what my baseline level of training looks like. So we'll just go back here. Let's just say we go back to, last year, 2022, and we'll go back to like June. Actually, I want to weigh in April. So let's go to March. Back to March. Here we are, March 24. So we start off at the bottom. The time goes up at the bottom here. So this is the first week into March. And we can see I was 11 hours here. I went 13 or 12 hours here. Then I was 16 hours here. Big thing, right? 2 big days. This is our Arizona spring volume camp, actually, that I did. Totally forgot that I did that camp. Look at that. Forgot about Arizona. So 2 big bike rides in this. So you can see in here, I had sort of a baseline. I took this off for skiing and recovery week, whatever. And a little bit of lighter week. I think I was kind of sick and everything before. But I've been sort of in this time range of, 11 to 12 hours of time. And then I came in and did more. And when you kind of dive into that regard, another way you can look at this inside Strava here, we come to the top. Sorry. If we just say my activities. Hold on a second. Training calendar. No. Yeah, this is a good sort of visualization of it as well. We can go back and say, where were you last year? And you can kind of look at how things laid out in that March timeframe. You can see that I had that big block here, those 2 weeks, but otherwise was fairly low, sort of overall my total training time for what things look like. And that gives you a sense of how things played out, right? 5 hours, 6 hours, but otherwise on a daily basis, that's how my time played out. You also get a sense, going from month to month. I did 26 hours in February with vacation and some illness, did 45 hours in January. See what I did. If it shows us December, 53 hours in December. So did some regular sort of training with bigger weekends, etc. And so what happened was, as I was getting ready for my trip to Mallorca, this camp here in Arizona presented itself. So I was able to do some additional work, right? So I went from like a general week to a much bigger week, which is a big deal in terms of the time sort of accumulated by me. So we go back here, go back to March. And the difference is you'll see here is like the allocation of how things worked, right? So I'm doing some serious work here, putting in my time on my hang-on ride, some high-intensity work, and additional time here to get ready. And then I go out and do this long ride here. I missed day 1. Actually, it's supposed to be 3 days of ride, but I missed the ride because my bike didn't make it. So I had to go back out and do it. And here you are checking out this ride. Estimated low wattages here. Pretty easy type of work. You can kind of come in and see I didn't have a power meter on me here, but we can analyze. I should have some heart rate data and some speed. Here we go. Got some heart rate data. So I was doing some fun work on these little segments inside here, but otherwise low down. So average 117, but peaked at 154. So having some fun. Obviously, things got a little hot out there in Arizona, but having some fun with the volume. And so what I did essentially, so you understand, is I took that baseline level of my training and said, all right, I'm going to put in this block of time, right? So I can do additional work. So if we go back to my training, I'm trying to figure out which one it is that's the best version of that. Let's go back to it. I think this is the best possible visualization. So here I did some long rides indoors in Zwift. Here I did my long rides on this camp weekend. Then I went away to Mallorca in April for a couple big hours. So I added like 10 extra hours, and these were back-to-back-to-back rides. came back to normal training and added my 2 big weekends here before I went into the rest of my year. I didn't have any events, like aside from some cycling races and stuff like that in August. So it wasn't a big year, but this is my traditional build up. So you can see you go from one big block on a weekend here to doing a double block weekend here with this mini camp to a longer block weekend as well here in April. And you can see there was like a 5-hour ride, followed by a 6-hour ride, followed by 4, by 5, by 2, and then by 6 again. And these were, big sessions in here. Day 6, right? 3 out of 4. So now if we were totally toast by the end of that ride, I saved by a bag. I was freezing to death on this off day. We fixed a bike chain on this day, but lots of mega work here as well. And the point being that there's opportunities in here, but we always start from what those baseline levels are. And I think these visuals kind of give you a good sense of how to kind of go through that process. Okay. The next piece that we want to think about here is setting a tangible target. And this is really important. And a huge part of this comes down to, for me, comes down to understanding what your target is, right? So for me, going out and doing 16 hours in a week or 17 hours in a week is, just really sort of 30% more than I'd already been doing. And I was doing most of it on the bike. So that's like a stretch for me that complemented the work that I was going to do in Spain, but allowed me to do some additional work. So choosing a challenge that's going to emphasize the work. We generally recommend doing challenges on the bike or some other non-weight bearing modality or mixture thereof, rowing, elliptical, some version of something that's not going to add too much pounding to your body. And that allows you to get in the aerobic time without the associated physical cost. So doing some math on it, take your baseline and say, if you're training for an Ironman that has a 6-hour bike and you've been riding somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 hours in a course of a week, you could go out on a challenge ride and sort of double that. Go to 9 hours for that bike for that challenge week, just to challenge yourself at a weekly level, not at a specific go out and ride 6 hours that first day because you're not ready for that yet. But block out more time by saying, hey, I'm going to go 3 hours on Friday and then 4 hours on Saturday. I'll do 7 hours and 2 other 1-hour days. I go from 4 hours to 9 hours. I've doubled my weekly volume, and it's a good stepping stone moving forward. So we want to be rational about the choices we're making and have them be specific as possible to what our target race goals may be. Okay. Choose the safest possible option. That's just another sort of emphasis on that. The training modality, again, non-weight bearing is super safe. Making sure you can do it indoors if you have to. You train with friends, people know where you are, all of that stuff. So really choose the option that's the safest for you. Remember, this is meant to be in addition to the regular training you're doing. So if you go over the top and put yourself in a bad place, we've set you back instead of moving you forward, obviously defeating the purpose. So really choosing that safest possible option. We also want you to adjust frequently. And so getting out to the camp and saying, what can I do instead is actually really important. So when you have a training block or you're going to overreach with a challenge, you may have some goals associated with it, but we want to have, strong goals, but they should be loosely held. So if you start doing that workout, you say, I plan to do 6 hours on my bike at this heart rate number, this power number, and you go out and start doing it and it becomes too hard, dial it down. Like it'll still be a challenge. You're going to do the time, but we don't want it to be so challenging that it's going to make consequences for you later. So always be adjusting, evaluate, figure out. And if you're doing like a longer challenge, like say 5 hours on a given day, or a combination like 3 hours and 3 hours on back-to-back days, or 3 in the morning, 3 at night, or whatever challenge you come up with. And we've got all those challenges here inside Endurance Nation. We're always sort of making choices and making sure that we're staying within the realm of what's possible so we can still achieve our total time goal by adjusting intensity, adjusting conditions, etc. Another X factor that typically derails people is the weather. If things are starting to go south for you, and by that I mean cold, north, bad weather, whatever it may be, adjust that out, because we don't want to put you in a position when you're immunocompromised to be overreaching and then in a bad place for the long term as well. Okay. And last but not least, the easy mindset hack for you to think about that kind of like helps to make all the decisions super easy. What would what did I say here? Because what would next week say? And what would next week me say about me today? Right. So looking back on this week, future you, are they going to say this was a good decision or a bad decision? So not just do I or do I not want to finish this workout. Endurance athletes are super binary. Like the answer is yes. Like I want to do it. Should I do less or more? I want to do more. Should I do, should I take 1 salt pill or take 4 salt pills? 4, 1 cup of coffee or espresso. We're always choosing more. But what we don't always do is make decisions that benefit our future selves. And so one of the ways that we can do that is to put ourselves in that context of saying, what would future me say? I do this all the time, with my calendar, so like right now you say, can I meet with you, Patrick? I say, no, let's meet tomorrow. Let's do that next Wednesday. It's always like next week. Yeah, next Monday is great. Mondays are terrible for me. Next Monday is great. Let's do it next Monday. And I just kind of push. Then Monday comes. I wake up and I say, Mondays are tough, but I'm ready for you Monday. Let's go. And then my calendar's like bing, 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 and all these things. I'm like, how'd these people get on my calendar? What did I do? And I just past me had decided that punting to the future was good. Past me does not respect future me. So I have to ask myself at the time when this meeting is coming up to be like, does future me even want this meeting? When can I have this meeting? Is this meeting important? Can I solve it with an email, a phone call? How else can I deal with it so I'm not in a struggling, troubled place? And that's what I want you to do with your training side as well, which is to say, is this going to make next week me happy? Right? Will I be happy that I did it because it's benefited me, or am I just doing it now for my ego, or just doing it now to keep up with other people and not making the best possible decision? Okay. If you've got questions or feedback or thoughts about challenges, remember that you can totally come over to Endurance Nation. I'll get us right here for Endurance Nation. Go to Endurance Nation here. We'll go over to our blog, for example. You're always getting sort of the latest updates and information here. You can come in and see our challenges that are listed here. We've got a whole calendar of what we have. Here's our Zwift progression, moving into targeting volume, into mini March, April, and Ultra May. All of this is going to be super fun. And we've got some fun events planned here as well. All of this on the Endurance Nation website under challenge at the navigation, or just go directly to the URL new-challenge, and you'll be able to find it there. But don't settle for the status quo. You can be better, and it doesn't have to be in a way that compromises your entire life and work schedule and ruins your sleep. Instead, you can use these, intermittent, bi-weekly, 2 weeks a month, or monthly, depending what your schedule may look like and your aspirations for the season, doses of strategic volume using challenges or events or camps to make sure that you're taking that stepping stone approach, giving yourself time to recover, still having a ton of fun with your training, which is the most important part, and setting the stage for you to be successful when it comes to race day. All right. If you've got questions, comments, or feedback, please hit me up here live. You can ask questions here anytime. I'll see the comments and reply to you. Those of you on the team, obviously, you can message me inside the site. You can also find us on Twitter, twitter.com/teamien. Have a fantastic week, everyone. I'll be back next week with another coach lesson. See you.
For more information about Endurance Nation, visit us online at endurancenation.us. The provided music is from the Podshow Podsafe Music Network. Check it out at music.podshow.com.